What's up, my not average family? Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time coming, if this is your more than first time and you've been rolling and riding with me, welcome back once again. Today is going to come a different way from what I usually do. Let's talk. Imagine sitting in a courtroom for 2 weeks. 2 weeks you sit in the courtroom. And while you're sitting there in the courtroom, you hear this story painted of a horrible monster that did horrendous things. You hear about an evil person that's manipulative, that's a killer, that tries to be a killer, that wants to put harm and steal and rob from innocent people. You hear such horrible things that your mouth fly open, your eyes are bugged out, and in your head, you're like, oh my God. Now imagine that monster, that person that they're saying tried to be a killer, that person that they're saying tried to be a robber, is your son. That's my story. February the 20th, 2014, it was my birthday, February the 20th. I was headed to Shreveport, Louisiana with my sister to celebrate my birthday. Along the route, I got a phone call from a young lady. Who she is to this day, I have no idea. And she asked, is this Miss Tasha? And I told her, yes, it was. And she proceeded to tell me how my son is all over the Galveston news for a robbery that he tried to commit with some friends. And how everyone was looking for him and the police were after him. And he was all over the news. And that I could Google it and put it up. She hangs up. I look at my sister. I think it's a joke. Immediately, I Google and I pull up Galveston, Texas shooting. My son's face immediately pops up along with 3 other young men. One other young man I knew because he was from the same town as him. And I sent my son out to Houston to go to the Art Institute with this young man because he was a good kid. I knew nothing bad about him. Anyway, to go on with the story. My son, instead of going, let me back. It's kind of difficult, so y'all bear with me. My son was a victim of being at the wrong place at the wrong time. Now, I have 2 sons, and if you've been riding on my channel, you've heard me say more than once that I have one that I know. I showed y'all, Keyshawn. Keyshawn's my thugaboo. That's my son. He's a street savvy. He out there. But that's my baby. I don't know. He grown. He makes his own choices. He got to live by him. Now, my oldest son, Clifton, 26 years of age. And at that time, Clifton was very green. And I say at that time very green because being behind prison, you no longer have the benefits of being green. It teaches you a whole lot about life real quick. So Clifton was quiet, calm-natured, calm-mannered, kind of the opposite of me and my baby boy. Me and my baby boy like the crunk, loud mouth's gonna tell you what we feel. Clifton was kind of calm-natured, different from us. So nevertheless, he went out with some friends. They supposed to have been going to the beach in Galveston. Never had he been to the beach, he wanted to go. Along the way, they said, hey, we're going to stop at some girls' house. They stop at these girls' house. They go inside, and my son, who's not very sociable, or who wasn't very sociable back then, says, well, I'm not going in. While he's downstairs, he hears gunshots. He takes off running. Now, I want you to know, some people are saying right now, oh, everybody's innocent. No, I'm not saying he's innocent because he's my son. When we went to trial, 3 victims. All 3 victims were unable to identify my son. All 3 victims said they had no idea who my son was. All 3 victims said they had no idea what his name was. They never heard his name during any of this process. So what happened was my son was just a guinea pig that was ignorant. They went upstairs. He was standing downstairs because he hasn't never been sociable. That was not his character. He didn't go in the house, thank God for that. Stood downstairs. He's listening to music, waiting on them to come out. And while he's downstairs, thinking they upstairs talking to young ladies, the friends decide to go in, rob these people at gunpoint, tie them up with tape, try to burn them up, and one of the guys shoots the lady, making her a paraplegic. So we're in Texas. And in Texas, they say don't mess with Texas, and that's what they mean. They want to prove a point. So now we go to trial for 2 weeks, and we come back with a hung jury. Now normally in my state, a hung jury, person walks away free. Not in Texas. They wanted to give my son 45 years. Even though 3 victims said they could not identify him. And they had no idea even what his name was. Two of the other guys that were involved even confessed that my son had no idea what was going on and was not a part of the plan. So he ended up getting 10 years. He served 6. September, God's will, he'll come up for parole, and prayerfully, I believe with faith he will make it. Now let me go into why I say, now this is how they see us. Or how they see us. Let's move on Netflix. I've had so many people to inbox me or call me and say, oh, yeah, they know I'm a movie fanatic. They know I love Netflix. I'm a TV person. TV is I crave it. I love TV. You need to watch the series on Netflix. No, I don't. I watched it for 10 minutes and I had to immediately turn it off. If you have not seen the series, let me talk to you a little bit about it, and I have to read some information because I don't want to read anything wrong. The Netflix series is trending right now on Netflix. It's trending, which means it's hot. And it's a true life story of 5 young men. Antron McCray, Yusef Salam, Corey Wise, Kevin Richardson, and Raymond Santana. These young men were 5 young men that were caught at the wrong place at the wrong time. When they were arrested, they ranged from the ages of 14, 15, and 16. Corey Wise was the oldest, 16, and he was charged as an adult. He served 13 years. The other 4 served 7 years. But they were not the villains. Not allegedly, this lady was raped in the park on April the 19th, 1989. And the prosecutor had her way. She pushed. And back then, DNA evidence wasn't as vital and as prominent as it is now. So they weren't going by that. They basically had these young babies, because 14, 15, 16 years old, you're dealing with children. Till they made them start confessing, saying, okay, he did it. They started making them say things they wanted them to say. And these young men served time in prison for a crime they did not commit. What happened was, in 2002, a serial rapist came and admitted to committing the crime. And the DNA evidence backed up that this serial rapist that came forth committed the crime. I have lived the life of having a child being incarcerated for a crime he did not commit. I will not be watching how they see us. I don't want to see that. I can't deal with that, and I can't handle that. And if you've never had to deal with that type of situation, you don't know what it feels like. The prosecution job is to make your child or whoever look as bad as they possibly can. And while they sit there and say these things to make my child look like a monster, it took my best friend to hold my left leg and my sister to hold my right leg. Forgive me for the shaking of the camera. And I'm sitting there knowing what my child is capable of and what he's not. You don't know what your kids will do, but you do know their characteristics. My baby boy, that's a fighting street thug to the end. The oldest one, no. You would really have to push him for him to fight you. So during this trial, these victims get on the stand, and all 3 adamantly say, we don't know him. We did not see him in the house. But they point out the other 3 guys and say, he was there. He wasn't in there. We never heard his name. We never heard anything about him. We have no idea who he is. And that still wasn't good enough for prosecution. They pushed it. The jury was hung. And he still was sentenced. So, how they see us, I know how they see us. Do you know how they see us? People say, if you do what they tell you to do, I don't want to hear that crap. Because I'm going to say once again, 3 victims couldn't identify my son. They said he wasn't inside of the house. They didn't even know his name. They knew nothing of him. But yet, wrong place, wrong time. Texas won't prove a point. He still had to serve time. So, when they talk about how they see us, My heart goes out to those young men. My heart definitely goes out to the mothers, the parents, period. Because it's hard when you have a child incarcerated. You're wondering what's going on. And they're not going to tell you everything because they don't want you to worry. You wonder, are they safe? You wonder all kinds of things. You wonder about the mental being. And I want you to know, I'm in Arkansas. My child is 8 hours away from me. So that doesn't give me the privilege of being able to go every weekend to see my son. And those trips to Houston, back and forth, are expensive. They're costly. You're paying for gas. You're paying for hotel. You're paying for going in to see them because you want to make sure they eat a decent meal at least while you're there. So I've gone through a lot. And for your child to be incarcerated for 6 years for something that he did not do is a very hard pill to swallow. Now, if your child committed this crime, and my youngest baby boy has been in jail, he did those things. Sit there. I'm not a sugarcoat. I don't try to, baby, you was stupid enough to tote a gun around with marijuana on you. Sit there. You're going to ride it out in jail. First couple times, me and daddy got together and got him out. Last go round, he sat there. And he sat there for a long period of time. We ain't had no more problems out of him. Look here, you did it. Serve your due justice. And my biggest point about not trying to see my baby boy behind bars was when you have one already incarcerated, you don't want both of your kids locked up. But I had to learn it's all in God's hands. So when people talk about this Netflix series, I applaud Ava DuVernay. I do. I'm glad that she got a message out there. I'm glad that these young men were able to get their stories told truthfully. But I want you to know, even though their stories are being told, and even though they were blessed to come out alive, because they were beat on severely, and Corey Wise got the worst end of the stick, being that he was charged as an adult, it still will never, ever repair the torn place that's been placed within them by being in prison. And my son, although he's positive, I instill God in both of them. He knows who God is. He's prayerful. I already know there are some torn places in him that I'll never be able to repair. All I can do is tell him to continue to pray, and I pray with him. So when you live a life and you have to go through a trial with your child, knowing they didn't commit a crime, but they have to serve time for it, you really don't want to see that on a Netflix series. Because to you, that's not a Netflix series. That's your life. And like I said, I watched about 10 minutes of the series and I couldn't make it through it. I almost began screaming because I went back to that courtroom in Texas, in Galveston. So I just wanted to share that with you and let you know that I've survived a lot. And if your child's incarcerated right now, nothing to be embarrassed about, nothing to feel bad about. But I want everyone to understand, everyone that smiles in your face is not your friend. Everyone that screams out the name of Jesus is not saved or a Christian. And everyone that goes to the penitentiary is not guilty. And I know they say that's a cliche, nobody's guilty. No. Everyone that goes to prison is not guilty. And everyone that goes to prison is not a bad person. Some people really get the bad end of a stick. So this is a little bit different. This is a serious vlog. I hope you watch this video to the end. And if you watch it to the end, I'm going to ask you to do something for me. Type in 20. And that way I can know from this point who really watches my videos and who doesn't. If you watch it to the end, type in 20. And I know how far you really ride. Keep us in your prayers. Like I said, it's difficult because I'm not able to see him. I'm able to go every so often in Texas. It's not easy. Those are expensive trips. But God will make a way. He always has. He always does. And even though he's incarcerated, that hurts. I'm glad that he's alive. Because I could be at a graveyard looking at a tombstone. And I've had to do that before with a child. So I'm thankful. Even though the incarceration is hard, I'm yet still blessed because my son is alive. Y'all have a blessed day. I'm Tasha Lane, Not Average. Like and comment down below. And as I said, keep me and my son, because he comes up for parole, in your prayers.